can you take certain claims at face value, and how to evaluate which claims can be taken at face value, and so on. So what I'm in the same way that like you can't take whatever Microsoft's claims at face value about improvements in Windows performance.
Right.
You can't. Same
this
with
is
AI.
going to be the best Windows yet. This is going to be perfect and flawless.
I was
Notepad
promised
will be safe.
It was going to be the last Windows
exactly
ever as well,
I was
right?
promised
like
the last
10.
Windows.
Well, they are still working on making it the last Windows ever.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The year of the Linux desktop is what TJ's trying to say.
They put that into the AI, and it gave them a plan back of how to make it the last Windows ever. And they're executing on that flawlessly.
Yeah, it is. They're like, we got this thing called Windows 11, and it will ensure that Windows 10 is the very last version of Windows.
All right.
And if that doesn't work, we have Windows 12.
Yeah. I've just got a few topics that I thought would be fun. We can just see where they lead us and what happens. I think there's similarly to on the episode at least that I've listened to. You start on a topic and there's like 95 different branches that we can go off of. So I'm not, if we don't get to all of them, it's whatever. I think it'll be fun. But one of the things I'm interested in, and like it's just hard to get anybody's like unbiased, everyone's got a bias, whatever, just like a more rational take on like this current state of token cost and what that's looking like going forward. I don't know if you have any thoughts, Dimitri, about like, is it going to be that Sam Altman was right and we're going to get 10x cheaper every year or whatever? I don't know. That's what Twitch chat always tells us.
No, that's what Sam has it on the record. He said it twice now. He said it twice and made projections into the future saying it's 100x cheaper. GP2 5.2 high will be 100x cheaper in 2 years.
Okay.
So a lot of that is infrastructure development and algorithm development that is trade secrets that like I can't evaluate, and even an OpenAI insider, it would be illegal for them to evaluate in public, right? I don't know what they're cooking up there. I mean, they have an extremely talented team. 100x cheaper seems hard to believe, but I guess wait and see. So I mean, one of the problems with these with evaluating claims in this business is that the timing matters as much as the content of the claim. So like Musk is a good example, just to take Sam Altman out of this for a moment, where Musk was saying, we'll have reusable rockets in, I think he first made the claim in 2005 or something like that, and it took many years before that actually worked. Later, when was the first promise of Tesla full self-driving? That was like 2016 that he was saying.
And then every 6 months after that.
Right. So I would, I found it useful to try to separate out the content of the claim from the timing of the claim. So I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if eventually we can get 100x cheaper token cost. Whether or not they can do it now, that's beyond my knowledge, because that's partly that's infrastructure, partly that's like custom hardware, partly that's can you get cheaper electricity. There are so many things that go into the business that it's hard for me to claim one way or another. What I can tell you is that it has been, as I'm sure you've seen, it has been a land rush mentality, right? So everyone's building as quickly as they can, whatever they can. Yeah. Put it out. Does it work? Does it barely work? Okay, move on to the next thing. And some of that is maybe recklessness, but some of that is just market forces, right? Because right now there are multiple really big players, and probably there won't be as many big players in 10 years. And so given how much money they've all put into this already, they really don't want to be the ones caught out, right? And so the arms race is rational from a business perspective, whether or not it's producing completely rational engineering artifacts. So all of that is to say, I'm sure that there is very substantial opportunity for improving efficiency in the current stack. And I don't know if so my biggest question would be, is the internal stack stable enough that you can optimize it now, right? Because like say you spend a year optimizing it to get the token costs down, and then there's whatever the next architectural innovation is, does that invalidate your optimization or not? So I don't know, right? And so you will hear me say I don't know perhaps more than most people talking about AI, just because it's there's a lot that's unknown even to people who are deep inside these companies about what's going to happen in like 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah, I would add one thing to that it's not adding something as in information, adding something as in sort of like a thing to think about, and that is that it's worth noting that if the costs were really going to get that low that fast, I think I would have expected Google's costs to be very low already. And I know it's a weird thing to say, but if you assume that there's any hardware component, like if you think that all 100x is going to come from software, then that seems okay, maybe that could happen. But if we're counting on a substantial portion of that 100x coming from infrastructure builds, it feels to me like Google has kind of been building AI-centric like stuff for quite some time and has gotten their thing that, like, their TPUs are very much just like, we built machines whose only purpose is to do this job, as opposed to, like, say for example Nvidia, who's not doing that. Like the Nvidia cards are kind of like still in a weird like hybrid state where only the very latest Nvidias could be said to be focusing on AI really, and even those are still a little bit hybrid feeling to me. So I could imagine if someone said, well, if all we had was Nvidia to look at, maybe you could believe that, like, there's a very long lead time on hardware. So, we don't know what they, when they shifted probably 4 or 5 years ago to going like, oh my God, AI is going to be the biggest thing. We need to completely redesign everything to just focus on that. That stuff will only be, we'll only be seeing the end of that pipeline, now or something like that, right? So I could see that, but I feel like Google's kind of, am I wrong about this, Dimitri? But I feel like Google's been doing this for a long time. If there was if there was huge gains to be had by doing just AI hardware, I would have thought they'd have them already. Am I way off?
I'm not sure they don't, right? So the first time I heard about TPU, I think the first time I heard that they were starting to work on it was like 2014 or something like that. So that's just when I heard about it, right? Like, I'm not a Google insider, so I'm sure, like, knowing how Google works, I'm sure that they were talking about that like 3 years before I heard about it in public, right? But when I first heard about TPU development was somewhere around 2014. So I guess I have not been studying the like whatever internal economics reports Google puts out. It's possible that they are already substantially cheaper than
I would think.
On operating costs substantially cheaper than OpenAI. I don't know, this is something that's a common folk belief in the industry, which is like Google is sort of the quiet monster in the business, because like if you compare them for a moment to say OpenAI, they have been infrastructure leaders forever. They have been AI leaders forever. Unlike OpenAI, they have I'm trying not to say the word surveillance, but I'm just going to say surveillance on the entire internet, right? So they have just a constant flow of potentially trainable information, and XAI has that flow that is their own proprietary flow of data. So many people have this feeling of like, Google was kind of slow on the product side. I emphasize on the product side. With like chat LLM products, but many people have this feeling of possibly Google is just going to quietly leverage all those advantages that nobody else has, and like XAI is the only one that's sort of close in having that capability. It's interesting to note that as far as I've seen in public, XAI, they're merging with Starlink. They're talking about with
SpaceX, yeah.
SpaceX, and they're talking now about orbital data centers. And something that I thought was interesting there was that the designs that they've talked about are GPU based, not TPU based. And I don't know if that's because they don't think they can build it up as well as Google did, or they don't think they can license it from. So I don't know, right? But the thing I will point out is that the designs I've seen. I mean, I guess I haven't looked in like 3 months, but the designs I've seen were estimates based on NVIDIA style GPUs and not TPUs. So they must know something, because this is the kind of thing that they do, right? Like the biggest competence advantage that I would put in the kind of Musk category of companies is the relentless execution on building and optimizing and streamlining physical stuff. That's something that they've been doing really well for a very long time. So if anyway, that caught my eye, that the designs I saw were based on GPUs and not TPUs. And I do know that they're working on their own AI chips. I don't know that much about how far they are there, but it's interesting that when they were talking about the orbital data center designs, they were talking about get conventional GPUs as we understand them.
I got to say, orbital data center is like the coolest sounding thing to build.
Yes.
Like it seems really not practical. I get there saying, "Oh, we're gonna have robots do it, and it'll be outer space, and it's really cool." But I feel like everyone's got to admit orbital data center is probably the coolest thing to say you could work at in software development. So.
Yeah, I think based on what I've seen for orbital data centers, it sounds like it is either much cooler or much less cool than what you're thinking about, depending on your perspective, right? So, excuse me. If you're imagining like a giant building in space, it sounds like the kind of more leading designs that are like more plausible. They're more like Starlink. They're more like satellite clusters, where you just have lots of little things that talk to each other over light links, basically, for high-speed communication.
Well, and giant radiators, right?
And huge, flat
it's
fins,
almost all radiator, and then there's a little like nub in the center contains
Yeah.
the GPUs, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound as cool as what I had in my head of a big skyscraper in outer space where we've got racks of GPUs and you can walk around in it, and it's like really cool. But that's okay, because when you tell your parents that you work at an orbital data center, they won't know. So it's fine.
That's what they imagine.
I say it's exactly like Star Wars, Mom and Dad. Trust me. Trust me.
Unfortunately, like, heat is just very, I guess as the kids say problematic in space. Like, you don't have anywhere
we should
to put
cancel it.
Like, it's very hard to get rid of heat in space. So this is a problem. As Dimitri was saying, you end up having to have a lot of surface area per chip, like per heat generating NVIDIA, like GP200 or whatever. I mean, it won't be a GP200 by the time they get these things launched, but the,
That's the thing I didn't get. What is the advantage then? Because in like, I get that it feels like if you talk to like a regular person about putting it in outer space, they're like, well, it's cold in outer space, so that's going to be really good for GPUs. But it's the opposite, I think, right? I mean, so I don't get.
It's not that it's not cold in outer space. Cold is the lack of available, not having energy.
Right.
There's no density, so you have nothing you can.
Yeah, I meant like more like they said. Cooling would be super easy. I feel like that's like the normie thing. If you say put something out, it's like it'll be cold. It's like a huge refrigerator, bro. But that's not how heat works. So I get that part. So then, what is the advantage? Why this is? We also don't have to go way down this route, but I have been wondering this myself. So why do they want to put it in outer space?
Incredible investment, TJ. Like the amount of investments that are coming in will be
the TAM. The TAM for outer space is big. Think about how many data centers we can put in outer space.
Well, it's free power and difficult but free cooling, right?
Okay.
So if you can make the physics work, and I don't know, right? Like they have really good like thermal people at. I mean, you can imagine they have very good thermal people at SpaceX. So I assume that they have done simulations that suggest to them that this can be made viable. But yeah, so it's free power and also like more free power than you would get for the same panel on Earth, because there's no atmosphere eating up your atmosphere, or weather for that matter.
Yeah, no clouds.
Right. So free power and tricky but free cooling. And
Gotcha. So it's like when you build a really complicated thing, but then it's passive in a video game. I understand.
Right,
This,
exactly.
this mechanic makes sense to me.
And
This
maybe one
appeals
thing
to
I would
me.
add, this is entirely business strategy speculation. So whatever, like take like poor big.
It's
cup of
financial
salt.
advice. Got it.
It's exactly right.
Investing right now.
If it works, and you are Musk's AI team, and you just get to launch your AI into space, and everyone else is like fighting local governments and can I build a hydro plant here? Oh, how much do I have to pay you to, right?
Yeah.
And you'll just be like, we're going to space, right? Like you losers can hang out here. We're going to space. And by the way, if you want to go to space, you have to come through me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he pretty much owns the passage to space, so it's a pretty synergistic.
They can't ask Katy
business.
Perry. She's been outer space.
Well, and also like it's pretty trivial for like when you look at the projections for these sorts of things, it's all about launch cost. Like whether or not it makes sense to put a data center in space, a quote unquote data center in space. It's like, here is the launch cost. Like at this launch cost, we think we could do it and that's based on like the failure rate of the thing, how long it's expected to be able to be up there, all those sorts of things. And so at the end of the day, if you look at somewhere like SpaceX and they're like, well, for us, we could get our launch costs down to $50 a kilogram or whatever the magic number is. We just charge everyone else $75 a kilogram, and then it's not worth it for them to put it in space, or theirs will always be worse than ours, right? It's a very good position to be in, and a strangely profitable bet for SpaceX if it turns out that these are actually useful in the future. So
I think we should probably attempt to get a little bit more on a more practical approach to AI. I do think orbital data centers does sound amazing.
You don't want the title of this video to be orbital data centers
There's going to be a section. There's going to be a
AI
segment
in
called
space,
orbital
Prime.
data
That's gonna. How
centers.
many clicks is that gonna generate?
AI
Come on,
in
man.
space.
All right,
AI
that's
in
true.
space.
Go ahead. So
That's my rock opera I'm writing. That's crazy.
Yes.
How did you know, Casey?
Because I am also writing a rock opera called AI in Space, as it turns out.
Oh, sick. We could collab.
Yep.
That's not gonna happen. He's just gonna take it all from you. Okay, so I guess we should probably talk. I think the number I get a lot of concerns from people, and one of the most frequent questions I've been getting lately is my future just reviewing code?
Yeah, so quite possible. Let me try to be measured in what how likely I think that is. So look, one thing that I've been I have discovered in my own work and that I've been saying publicly for a while now is so I try to work on repeatable and reproducible AI results. So like the bucket term I use for that has been reliable AI, but it turns out that there's a company called Reliable AI. And so anyway, the thing that I think you can do right now, like completely hands off and not have to review anything, right? So this is what I mean by reliable, right? That like if I ask you, TH, to whatever, go implement, download this thing from this HTTP endpoint and like save it into the database and give me a dashboard that whatever calculates the averages of some things, right? Mm-hmm. I can just tell you that and expect a result and it will work and I don't have to talk to you about it again, right? So that's what I mean in this completely hands-off style. Right now, I think the limit of that is somewhere around a couple thousand lines of relatively standard junior level code. And I want to emphasize because some people have justifiably pushed back on this a bit. I'm not saying you can't do more by having oversight and doing multiple tries and having algorithmic test suites. I'm not saying you can't do more. Right now, what I'm talking about is what's the limit of what you can do hands off, and you can mostly just trust that it happens. Mm-hmm. I think at a minimum, we are going to go through a review heavy phase because the businesses are, as I'm sure you know, the businesses are trying to shove this into everyone's workflow, whether they like it or not, right? And I get lots of people, even in the AI business, who tell me I hate how much they're trying to push us to use these things, right? I just want to do my job, but they're monitoring my token usage, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is
anecdotally too, not just literally. I have friends who are we have to use this tool.
Yes.
Part of my KPI is we have to use Claude Code only. And my manager has a dashboard with my token count for the month, and it is a thing we talk about and review. Not even oh, you can use whatever one you want. We just want to see you guys experiment. They're you have to use Claude Code. You have to do this. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, think about Amazon Kira. That's a lot of people are talking about that right now with the whole Amazon accidentally having several Sev 1s.
Yeah, they're like, you have to use our stuff to take ourselves down. If anyone's going to bring it down, it's going to be me. Okay, that's
We want to make sure we want to make sure our site goes down and our AI looks bad at the same time. We don't want like someone else's AI to look bad.
No, that would be mean.
Yeah.
Okay, if it's gonna go down because
Yeah.
of AI, it's our AI.
should be
They're
our
putting
AI.
the I in AI. Okay,
There you
Casey?
go. Very good. Yes.
So yeah, Prime, on that point, I think it's very likely that we will go through a review-heavy phase. I think that at some point, like the workers will object to this enough that we're going to have to find something more acceptable, right? Because I don't know if you've tried it, but if you're just like reviewing stuff, like Claude dumps another thing on you every 5 minutes, you're like, okay, now I have to review this and approve and merge whatever, or I mean, you can just YOLO, right? And but we've seen what happens if you just YOLO. So I do think we will, at a minimum, go through a like mostly reviewing phase, and I think people are not going to like it. That's my expectation. I don't know how. I don't see what the alternative is right now, because the two possibilities I see right now are like they're going to be monitoring your token count, and so you need to be consuming and generating tokens, and then that has to get linked, which in some places they actually link the tokens to PRs, right? And so you need to be generating lots of PRs, you need to be consuming lots of tokens. How can you do that other than just generating many PRs with AI and reviewing and like hoping that you're not taking down fraud by missing something in your review, right? So I don't know how we get out of that other than at some point the business side says, okay, like we can cool it, right? We're going to stop monitoring your token use, which I mean, I personally feel like that's not that different from a desktop monitor or like a keyboard monitor or something. It feels very invasive to me. Like, hey, I understand you're asking me. I think it's fair to ask me, hey, can you use this tool? Can you try to do better work? I think that's fair, right? Like ultimately you're being paid to do something for the business. I think it's fair for them to ask, hey, we'd like to be using these tools, and we think you can do whatever, like 20% more work if you use this. I think that's fair. I think the micro tracking feels worse than the past, and
it's really easy to game too, right? You just sequentially look at every single file, and it's just going to be like dang, dang, dang. Like, I know crushing people, the tokens.
I know people who are like at big techs who are working on stuff, and they have to do exactly what you're saying, and they're saying, I do this just to keep up appearances for my AI use, and by the end, my output changes maybe 10%, right?
I do like how it's literally just setting money on fire, and they're like, this makes me look fast. So that actually, before we got distracted on the orbital data centers, which I'll repeat, coolest name ever.
Super cool. Command and Conquer.
Cool. I was interested in some of your thoughts about sort of the tokenomics side of things, because right now it feels like people are burning a bunch of money trying stuff out and exploring and willing to just be like, oh yeah, you just spent $5,000 this month, whereas before like you couldn't get like a $45 like online course approved, and they're like, oh, but yeah, $5,000 of tokens for nothing. Yes, we're totally down for that. Do that every month, because I was interested if like if we're gonna see a big, or your thoughts on if we're gonna see a big push on like generating less, or like more focus on like we're gonna use more tools to check what's being generated, because at some point, Claude just released their thing about code review, and they're like, yeah, usually it's like 15 or 25 bucks a review, and you're like, well, that adds up kind of fast, especially at the rate people are saying I'm shipping 10,000 lines of code a day, or I made a 300,000 line Ruby on Rails application for my blog. That's Gary Tan, by the way, Casey, in case you can see that tweet. Okay. Hey, he's boiling a lake, and then he's going to boil the ocean. All right, that's what he told us. Side note, I cannot tell if he's the most genius rage baiter of all time, but we can circle back to that on a different episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because I'm interested in sort of that angle, because I do find like some tasks I can get done like a lot faster with letting agents work on it, or like agents spin on something like forever. It has a really clear outcome. There's some stuff I already have a bunch of patterns in my code base, spin. But I'm like, is everyone just going to be chill forever with me spending $500 of tokens overnight on this? That doesn't seem like what a business would like. I don't think we're going to get $500 of value back from this feature. So I don't know if you have any thoughts like in that vertical or
So this is speculation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of
So,
course.
again, speculation. A lot of this is like principal agent problems for the business. It's like so there are for sure like CEOs and like one step down from CEOs who one way or another their personal benefit is tied to claiming that they did a lot with AI.
Yes,
Okay.
true. Yeah.
And as you know, like in any big organization, you never just evaluate something for whether it's good or not. It has to be evaluated through some KPI, right? So
Yes.
there are people, I'm sure, like I haven't seen this personally, but I'm sure that something close to this exists, that there is someone with many millions of dollars worth of bonuses tied up to can I get our token usage to double this year, and can I get our PRs to increase by 20% as attributed to that token increase, right?
Right.
Like extremely bureaucratic thinking about using this new technology, right? So I'm sure that there are many people like that. And so those people, they're not spending their own money, right? They're spending the company's money.
Right.
They're telling you to spend the company's money to do something that makes the metric go up, that gets them a bonus, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how long that's going to last, but there's certainly right now a very large premium at multiple levels of the kind of the business stack, where people are like, why isn't your token usage doubling, right? And
Right.
like,
Yes.
To some people, that sounds like a joke. I have friends who literally, they say, my boss came and asked me, why hasn't my token usage doubled, right? Like you only used $300 of Claude last month.
Honey, you barely touched your Claude last month. What's going on?
Is something wrong, sweetheart?
Okay, so I do actually want to follow up on that, because this is this was one of the big things that has been going around, is this Amazon Kiro thing taking down everything. And now they're saying, hey, we're going to make it so that juniors and mid-level people who use generative AI must have a senior sign-off on this.
Can I do a quick question on that as well, Prime, which is, was there policy before seniors didn't have to review juniors' code? Just in general?
I assume it's like a lot of companies, which is that a junior could have a mid-level person review the code and say, hey, this is not really good. Like, not every change needs to have, the same, because you effectively will exhaust and lose your senior population if they have to review every single PR. And
that makes sense.
So excluding the personnel problem that will likely develop from this with Amazon, is this like the first sign of people realizing that token measurement isn't necessarily the best metric? Because I assume that's what's hurting Amazon, is that they really push super hard as token metric is the greatest thing that has ever existed, and you must only push on this one thing. And now they're feeling some of the effects of maybe moving too fast. Is there a world that's going to exist where people are going, okay, instead of trying to double metrics, maybe we should double some other thing? Say, I don't know, uptime. Maybe like uptime could be the thing that we're like, that we're valuing, and then that could be it. Like, is this an actual like path forward, or are we, I don't know, from your perspective, are we just going to see continued push on double your token usage? Because they both sound super appealing, I guess, from a purely theoretical point of view of like, oh, more features. We could get all the features, or no, let's be stable.
Again, I think so as we discussed with Casey, and Casey, you should jump in on this part. Like we've seen these cycles of like everything has to be, like 25 years ago, everything had to be online, and then everything had to be Web 2.0, and then everything had to be like social, local, mobile app, and then everything had to be crypto, right? And that, right? So we are in that phase absolutely right now, where separate from any utility that the technology is offering, there's just this social mania of everything has to be this right now. I don't know when that fever will break. I think certainly events like the Amazon event will help with that, and I do think that at some point someone is going to say, okay, look, like we just can't be burning this kind of money all the time, and also like setting our infrastructure on fire and driving our engineers crazy. At some point, we should actually get a benefit from this instead of hurting ourselves.
You can only pick 2 points on that triangle. Drive engineers crazy, burn a lot of money, uptime. You get to pick 2 of those points.
Yeah,
Yes.
true.
But I think this could last for years, and the reason I say it could last for years, I know people will not like that. I think the reason this can last for years is it's easy to underestimate, you guys or like people who watch this, watch the stream, how far up the like power law curve of early adopter you are, and I just
So
meet
true.
lots of people all the time who still conceptualize AI as like it's a better search engine, right? And I mean, it's easy to forget that actually the vast majority of people don't know much about this and aren't really trying to use it. And so all those people somehow will have to be carried through the fever swamp. And I don't know, like, I think that could take years.
I would agree with that and add the sort of the chaser, which I think we did talk about on that first episode of the podcast, which was I don't see it as mattering whether it takes down prod all the time either is the problem. Because like at least my experience for the past 20 years has been it doesn't matter how bad the practice is. If it's just something that is in the zeitgeist, then people do it. And you can show them clearly, like you can literally demonstrate, look, if you had done it this way, this is how much better it would be. They don't care. Because the best practices is that you do it this other way. The best practice is you use Python, then we're using Python or whatever it is. And you're like, look, if you'd just written it this way, it's 100 times faster. And you're like, we don't care. That's how this industry has operated. And so it would be very weird to think that in the special case of AI, that anyone would care one way or another whether it even was better, right? So you can almost take your guesses about how good AI will be in practice about generating code in the first place. You could even put that aside. I think the fact that it has this much momentum is enough to know that this will be here for a long time, the current way we're doing things, even if it never gets any better than it is right now. Even if it stayed exactly as good as it is right now, no improvements literally at all, I don't think that would change the outcome. Honestly, I really don't.
Well, and
Yeah,
there's
you
like $1
mentioned-
trillion invested in it too, right? So they're like, well,
Exactly.
and it's, I mean, it's not a really even sunk cost fallacy. It's just like literally sunk cost truthacy, which is like we really need this to work, guys, or we're really underwater, right?
So-
It's not like
So it will become the workflow. I think that's like inevitable. And like I wish that we could say like, well, if the AIs don't improve substantially, then people would like rethink things. I don't think that's true. Like I think whether or not they're able to push the quality up, I mean, hopefully they are, because everyone is putting a lot of money into pushing the quality of the AIs. So hopefully they do get better. But even if they don't, I don't think it's going to matter personally.
Hey guys, if you like this episode, you can watch the rest of it on Spotify, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Woo! See you later.
Boot up the day, vibe coding, errors on my screen, terminal coffee in hand, living